right, welcome back to Patient Win Insider. I'm Nick Moen, and today I'm joined by Dr. Lincoln Harris, founder of RipeGlobal. Link has built a reputation as a pioneer in dental education, starting as a rural dentist in Australia, where he had to travel across the world to learn specialty procedures. Then created the first global platform for immersive hands-on simulation training, and the largest. Today, we're diving into how Ripe Global is rethinking dental education, scaling associate performance, and what the future of skill development looks like for dentists worldwide. Let's get into it. I'm really excited to have you on, Lincoln.
Nick, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm based here in Colorado, so Nick got on just before we started and said, "How's things in Australia?" And I said, "I don't know. We'll have to go find out."
Well, other
Yeah.
than the biannual visit, I guess Global is an international brand. Just give me a background on how that started, how you got into the practice, and how you've built to where it is today.
So it started. I mean, I didn't start with a great vision. I just solved problems for myself. The first problem I had to solve for myself was I had a practice in a small rural village. So it's a small town. Most Australians haven't heard of it, called Bargara. Bargara is basically where the southern end of the Great Barrier Reef starts. So it's a pretty nice area, cute little town, had like 4,000 people in the town or something, so pretty small. And quite arrogantly, I started with the idea that even in this small town, people could get as good a dentistry in my office as if they were in London or New York or some other major center. Only much later did I realize that the average quality of dentistry in my general area was actually higher than some of these big cities, because big cities have very good high-end dentists, but they also have a large cohort of very basic dentists. So whereas in rural areas, everyone's kind of earning enough money, they don't have to have any temptation to cut corners. That was the initial problem. And the problem my patients had is that they had to travel 4 hours by car to see a specialist or spend $800 on a flight.
Right,
Because
major
you know
problem.
how small regional airports have expensive flights on, because it's not a 737, it's a Dash 8. And so there's no other airline that have a monopoly, so they charge a lot.
Right.
So if I didn't do the procedure, the patients got their tooth pulled out. So that was
Yeah.
like that. And so one of the things that I learned really early on was that a lot of my patients had recession. And so I saw online all of these people doing soft tissue grafting in Florida. And so I thought, that's cool. I'll refer my patient to a periodontist. So I did. And I'm not throwing any shade on periodontists. It's just that in Australia at that time, which was like 2006, very few people were trained, even periodontists were trained in soft tissue grafting. So I sent the patient to the periodontist, and then the graft failed. And so I thought, I can't be worse than that. So then I started going to Florida to learn soft tissue grafting techniques from a dentist there. Now, Florida is quite a long way from,
Yeah.
like, basically only Iceland is further away from where I lived. That was the kind of the basis. And then I also came to the United States to learn orthodontics, full mouth rehabilitations, implantology. And so that was like a kind of fast track of learning from 2006 to 2012. I was also running conferences on implants and aesthetics quite ambitiously at the time too. So that was the start. And then I started posting things online on Facebook. I was on Dental Town a lot in the early days, but then I was posting things on Facebook, and younger dentists started to ask me, which courses should I go to? And so I give them this giant list, like, 50 courses.
Yeah.
And at some point I thought, why don't I teach them? So I started running courses, initially in treatment planning and quite ambitiously, again, soft tissue surgery
Okay.
and full mouth rehabilitations. I had dentists bring their patients to my office to do a full mouth rehab under supervision. And they would get there and they'd be really stressed, and like the day would drag on. Like they'd start at 8 in the morning, and at 6 p.m. they're just finishing the temporaries, and everyone is miserable and sad, and everyone wants to like take up alcoholism or something. And so this is going on, and I would ask them, how many crowns have you done in one appointment before this? And the answer was always either 1 or 2.
Right.
I thought maybe like going from 1 crown to 14 is maybe a big jump.
Yeah.
So that was then I started building hands-on training courses, but my hands-on training courses were similar to everyone else's, which there was a lot of lectures. I would do a demonstration, and then they would do the procedure, but not very many repetitions. What happened was I started getting photos sent to me of all of their complications, all the things going wrong. And so that then got me thinking, like, how do we make training better? Obviously, I was training the way dental schools train, and everyone else trains the way dental schools train. A lot of theory, demonstration, a small amount of practical, usually done very slowly in an artificial environment, and you're trying to be perfect, not skillful.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between perfection and skill. I was trained as a pilot before I became a dentist,
Wow.
and I was sitting there going, if you trained pilots the way dentists are trained, they'd all be dead. Like, you imagine, okay, today we're going to land a plane. We'll give you like 3 hours of lecture on landing a plane, and then you will watch me land it once, and then you have a go. Okay. And then you do one under supervision. Fine. You're fine to go home and start landing a plane. Of course, everyone would die. And so what actually happens is you get maybe a 15-minute lecture on how to land a plane after learning how to fly one. And then you go and do laps. You do circuits, they're called. You land, you take off, you land, you take off, you land, you take off. And you just do this. You actually do it for hours and hours and hours. Like, you maybe do an hour, then you're exhausted, and then you come back a week later and you do another hour. And maybe after 3 or 4 hours of this, they finally go, okay, now you can do one on your own. So I just thought, okay, they do it this way because people die. So why don't we just pretend dentistry is life-threatening and train people like that? So we moved all of our didactics online in 2016. So everyone else in the world was doing it basically in COVID. We did this in 2016. And after that, when dentists came to a course, they only did hands-on. There was no lecture, no demonstration. The demonstration was sent to them beforehand. They sat down and they started doing repetitions. And as we did this more and more, we even reduced the number of procedures that we would teach on a given day. So we teach like 3, and then we realized that was still too many, and then we go to 2. And now we pretty much only teach one thing. Like, we'll just practice. It's kind of like Karate Kid. It's like just wax on, wax off. Like, we're just going to drill you on this one thing. And what happens when you do this is it becomes automatic. So this feeds into a really important aviation concept, which is called mental capacity. People don't crash, like, I guess in the case of planes, literally, people don't crash mentally because they don't know how to do something. They crash because they either get tired or overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So, like, a good example would be, you didn't sleep well, you come to work, you've had an argument with the first patient who says they hate you, you're all stressed, you've got 9 hygiene checks to do in a row, and then you're in the middle of an extraction and someone calls to tell you that the patient from yesterday's root canal has blown up and they're in hospital with the facial swelling, and now the tooth breaks. So it wasn't the tooth breaking itself that was the issue. It was the fact that you were already just about maxed out. So experienced surgeons can do things automatically with no effort.
Sure.
So they have enough ability to cope. We went into 2020. I didn't have enough time to build all the stuff that I needed to build, so I just kept doing what I was doing. And then COVID actually gave us the time to step back and go, how do we do this better? And that's when we built simulation training, where we started designing, manufacturing simulation kits. We shipped them to the dentist's office. And when they join a class with us, they're not in a sim lab or a hotel or somewhere artificial. They're practicing the procedure in their office, which is where, in their office is where they have their own equipment, they have their own burrs, their own materials, and also just the environment. So then the transition from training to patient is massively accelerated. And we see this in that the implementation rate of procedures with the people we train is 2 to 3 times higher than at a traditional course. So the implementation rate for most dental courses is actually woeful. Like, it's like 15 to 20% of people implement and become successful with the procedure, and the rest had a good time put a plaque on their wall or a certificate, and made no change to their career. So that's the snapshot of how we ended up where we are.
Sure. Well, and what about procedure specific? Like as far as like the perfect training outcome, for your simulations, like what procedure or case do you think is most important to fully walk away with confidence or muscle memory for?
So I would change that question to what order do I generally recommend?
Sure. Okay.
So the first thing is generally restorative. So if I have a new dentist straight out of school, I'm generally going to recommend learn how to do single back teeth really well. Okay. Yes, you know how to do it from dental school, but not really well and not like automatic, and you can cope with difficulty and speed. Because it's not like to be good at something, but slow and poor is easy.
Right.
And to be rich at something, but to be terrible, like, you're fast, rich, and terrible, is also easy. The key and the intellectual challenge and the fun part of life is when you do an amazing job and you also earn a lot of money. So, like, to do excellence at high speed or high efficiency is the holy grail. So, that's what we're always focusing on. So, generally, I recommend from dental school, don't listen to old dentists who say you have to do basic things for a long time. Go straight in and learn back teeth, front teeth, veneers, and full mouth rehabilitation as soon as you can. And you can usually complete that. I mean, with our training, you can complete that in the first year or two out of dental school.
Was there a specific type of case that kind of changed your trajectory as a dentist once you mastered it?
Yeah. So the thing that really changed my life was for the first 7 or 8 years, I thought I knew everything. I mean, this is hard to believe. Anyone who's ever met me can hardly believe that I'd be so self assured. So, and then a lot of my friends were going to courses in America, and I went to a veneer course in America, one where you could take a patient. And it was by far the most expensive course. I think that single course was more than all the money I had spent on courses or conferences up until that point. So it was about 10,000 US dollars for the course, which was a lot back in 2006. Plus, I had to take a patient from Australia to America twice and pay a lab bill. So it was probably like $22,000 US in total cost. But that my income grew 50% in the following 12 months. So it went up by uh, like 12 times the cost of the course. And so suddenly I realized that I couldn't afford to go to cheap courses anymore. So after that, I stopped going to, $500 or $200 conference, single day conferences and dental association conferences, because you connect with people, you get inspiration, but you basically don't learn anything life changing. And after that, my rule was if it's less than 2 days, $2,000, and it's not hands on, I don't go to it. So that was probably the thing that changed my trajectory more than any other single thing. The second thing that changed it a lot was being immersed online. So for several years, I was the most prolific and most influential dentist who wasn't in the United States on Dental Town. And then I moved into a bunch of dental forums and I built my own Facebook group, Instagram following, and so on. I mean, across all my platforms, I have a couple 100,000 followers, but the uh, being immersed in an online environment where you're talking about dentistry all the time also was the second big influence in my life. And probably I learnt more from that than any actual course.
But and what about speed, right? So, like taking these courses, how does it compare to Ripe Global as far as, I guess, education speed? I think earlier you said that dental graduates can perform what 10% of procedures confidently when they finish school. Like, how is Ripe
6%.
Global six?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, you apply that to pilots, and we're in. But I mean, people's teeth and oral health is incredibly important for quality of life. So, like, so talk me through Ripe Global's stance on the speed of this education and why it stands out.
Yeah. I mean, our courses are very comprehensive. I mean, they do have a lot of theory, but there is a large amount of hands on, and the hands on is very high repetition. So, this is the thing with our training. you will do more repetitions of more procedures than any other type. Because most, even now, like the big American institutes, you don't do very many repetitions on average. You do like a lot of theory because repetitions are typically too expensive. That's why dental schools don't do large amounts of repetitions. They're expensive. And same with most institutes. Now, we don't have the cost of a big building, like a big real estate capital expense. So for us, actually, one of our largest costs is just the number of plastic teeth we go through. Like
Yeah.
we go through a lot. Like it's over $1,000 worth of every student we teach. So it's huge.
Yeah.
And so now, when I say speed, like mostly a new dentist can't do an entire continuum with a big institute when they graduate because they're too expensive. Like to do a full spear or course continuum when you graduate is $85,000 for tuition, plus travel, plus hotels, plus accommodation and food, plus loss of earnings. And the loss of earnings is more expensive than all the other things combined. And so, from a actual technology point of view, what we're really building as a company is a technology platform that allows you to replace buildings
Yeah.
and to put all of that capex into actual tuition rather than all the other things. Like, so you get rid of all that other stuff, you reduce the cost of training by 75%. And what this allows you to do is to do training much earlier in your career. So most young dentists can't afford to do full mouth rehab continuum straight out of school because it's too expensive. Whereas like our continuum is about the cost of 2 modules at a big American institute. And so that, usually got another 8 to go. So that allows them to be 2 years out of school, confidently doing full mouth rehabilitations. Like that supercharges your career. If you're that early on, and then most of them then go straight into implantology with us and then aligners. So you can be multidisciplinary about 4 years out of school, which like the impact that makes on your career trajectory and your income probably it might be adding $5 or $10 million to their net worth at retirement because it will double or triple their earnings by year 5. It's incredible. So that is what I mean by speed. It's not that our courses are fast. I mean, we do teach people to be fast. I don't mean by cutting corners, but like if you've done 17 crown preps in one day, you build your skills more in one day than you did in all of dental school.
Right.
And by the end of that day, you can do a really nice prep that the lab technician will look at and go, I'm going to put some effort into this because this person cares because it looks nice. And you can do it in very short time frame, 10, 12 minutes. So,
Right.
and normally you can't get to that speed because you're too busy being perfect. And when you are perfect, it actually stops you getting any good.
Right.
It's like a strange thing. If you try to be perfect, you get less good than if you just go, let's practice and just improve. So that's why we use plastic teeth. So you can just like go for it. And then if it's bad, then you just have another attempt and another attempt and another attempt until your hand does what you want. So yeah, that part.
Tell me about the technology of the simulate. Like how did you develop the technology to do these simulations?
Well, we were sitting there in the middle of COVID in a small town. We couldn't even travel to the next state in Australia.
Yeah.
So my whole teaching business that was typically booked 12 months in advance was shut down, and I've got all this time in my hands. And so we said, okay, if people can never fly again, how do you teach a procedure? Like not a knowledge, but a procedure, which is a tactile and hand skill based piece of knowledge. And so, well, I mean, you can be really inventive when you have a lot of stress. The initial mannequins, which we still use now, we got manufacturers from all over the world to send us samples. We tried out all sorts of things, and then we tried out all sorts of software, and then we tried all sorts of techniques, and we were sitting there for months going, how do you actually put this together? And then you have to write an entirely different type of course because all courses currently are built around the 2 days in a month that you're going to be in a room. And if you remove that constraint, you actually have a lot more freedom. So that was how we started. And then over time, we're slowly transforming from a teaching company We're now, I would call us more of a performance company now. So we work with a lot of groups, practices, DSOs, technology companies, manufacturers, and our job is how do we get performance?
Hmm.
So teaching is a process, and a lot of people focus heavily on the process, but you only focus on that process as it gives you an outcome. So if the outcome's not right, then you just like there's no sacred cows with us. You just get rid of the process and go, okay, let's refine it, change it, fix it, try something new. So that's how we started, and like just in the United States with group practices, multi-practice groups, DSOs, it's just going crazy. Like it's unbelievable. We went from 0 to 4 DSOs starting up, like and big ones, 800 to 1,000 dentists in less than 2 months. So,
Wow.
which if anyone knows how quickly DSOs normally make decisions, this is like lightning speed.
Yeah. They saw the value.
Yeah, and also like just small groups too, like groups with 2 practices who have embedded our training in their entire career management of young dentists. Like they come in the day they start, they basically get packed off to one of our courses and then they run through the whole training program. So, but now we're morphing into a hardware and software engineering company. So on the software side, we have built a procedure learning system, which is distinct from a learning management system because it's designed for teaching procedures. And on the hardware side, we're doing the hardware engineering with the mannequins and getting sensors and so on into them so that as of next year, when you're doing a course with us, we can actually give you, you can see live feedback of your procedure on your computer screen while you're in the class. So like
Right.
while you're prepping. So, and that technology, as we develop that out, we're raising capital from investors right now. And as we build that out, we will then be able to offer that platform to other educators who want to not fly so much, want to expand beyond their own country, their own state, to people who can't travel, like sometimes, mums and people with small kids can't travel so easily. And then to dental schools. Dental schools often want to expand, but they don't want to spend $100 million building a new building in San Francisco.
Sure.
So, and for $100 million, like spent with us, they can probably train half the world. So, so that's why I'm in America now. Like if you start software and hardware engineering and you're raising capital, give up living where you are and move to America.
Right. Absolutely. Well, tell me a little bit more about the tech and the mannequins. I mean, do you have there's a huge wave of AI right now. Is that integrated in some capacity or?
We're building that in right now for a few things. So the first one is that we have the biggest data set of people being trained on certain procedures in the world. Like if teaching people, just say crown preps, like we have videos of every crown prep class that we've taught since 2020 and all of the photographs that the dentists upload of their procedures. So we have this massive data set. And so the AI that we're developing will allow the feedback, which is currently given by an educator, to become 90% automated. So you might still have an educator there, but that will allow that educator to handle maybe 100 dentists instead of 16. But more importantly, it also will lower the cost so dramatically that then this level of training can be expanded to other countries. So right now we can only work in wealthy Western markets, so like Scandinavia, the Baltics, Northern Europe, UK, North America, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore. That's like our key markets at the moment. As we are able to use technology to lower the cost, then suddenly that opens up, the massive dental centers like India, Africa, who knows where. So like allowing people in those countries to access the highest level of education from the highest level educators. So that's part of it. And then obviously all of the chat that happens between all the dentists in our platform will get AI'd so that you have like learning models off that. And then most importantly, we have, as we develop, we have data on why. So dentists, all the AI companies mostly focus on what the dentist does. So like the practice management system tells you what they're doing, the phone answering, the note writing, all these things tell you what the dentist is doing.
Sure.
Why is one dentist productive and the next one not? That bit comes from us. So we have data from all of those. So over time, as we get bigger and bigger data sets, we can compare We can API to the practice management software, compare what they're doing with all of the training stuff, and now we start to build a picture of why one dentist is productive and one's not. So yeah, that's all coming over the next year or so. Capital, you need capital to do this because you need a lot of engineering, and engineering costs a lot before you start. So yeah.
Well, and when fundraising now, like where could this technology I mean, are you looking at expanding? I mean, it seems like this technology could expand past just dentistry, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so our actual vision as a company is to solve the surgical and procedure skill crisis globally with an AI powered simulation platform. So we know that the same problems exist. Like currently in the world, people spend 4% of the entire world's GDP on surgery and procedures. Okay, now a big chunk of that's probably people getting lip filler and stuff. But anyway, no, it's not. It's actually the biggest chunk is
Sure.
hips and stuff. And we know that despite the fact that surgeons of all types spend $20 billion a year on courses after they graduate, there's a shortage across every single industry. So in veterinary, there's not enough vets. In medical surgery, there's not enough medical surgeons. In med spa, there's a massive shortage of people who are trained in med spa procedures. And obviously, we know in dentistry, there's not only is there a shortage of trained dentists, but there's a shortage of dentists who are trained to do advanced procedures. So yeah, I mean, this is a solve the global surgical skill problem. So and then after I've done that, next year I don't know what I'll do.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
a big task to fulfill. So in 5 to 10 years, I mean, do you see this happening? I mean, obviously you're raising capital now in order to make it become more of a reality. I mean, it already
yeah.
is very successful, but do you think it'll be like a standard across the healthcare industry?
I think so. Yeah, like maybe not 10 years. 10 years is too slow. You don't move to America and work that slow. Come on. It's actually amazing. Like it is amazing being here because we came here and our traction with the DSOs in the States just went crazy. And then subsequent to that, like in my current capital raise, I've filled half of it in a few weeks. And like previously it's taken me months and months and months. Like in Australia, it's very difficult. And here it's crazy. Like, yeah, like I'm still a little bit shocked, like pleasantly shocked, I have to say, like just at the speed that we're raising capital. Like, you sit there and go shivers, like in 2 months, we'll have the whole round closed out, which like, this crazy speed. And then I think the thing that happens to you the most in America is you just get used to adding like 2 more zeros to everything and getting
Yeah.
used to it and thinking that's a reasonable number to use. So yeah,
Yeah.
like you very quickly go from 10 million to 100 million and a billion. And once you can look someone in the eye and talk about, yeah, how you get to over $1 billion in valuation in a few years
Yeah.
without like batting an eyelid, that
Yeah.
you just about have your American accent.
Well, when you're disrupting the market, I mean that's where it comes from, especially when people see behind the scenes that this is, game-changing technology for improving people's lives, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
curious, so what would you tell somebody that's gone through the training, has the simulation hours under their belt, like what stories should they be telling their market, in order to get patients? Like how are they communicating? Like what does that look like, kind of the certificate or the badge, or how would you tell them to express their level of expertise from using the Ripe Global system?
Yeah. I mean, obviously you can demonstrate your qualification, but the most important thing that happens when you, as a dentist, the product you sell is your clinical skill. And the difficulty for most dentists, particularly early in their career, is they don't believe in their product. They're insecure or low in self esteem. And so they're trying to sell something to the patient that they're not 100% convinced. So they tend to sabotage their treatment plans so that they don't end up doing something that they're not sure they can do.
Right.
So the biggest difference is that when you know for certain that you can do something with a high level of confidence, the way that you treatment plan and consult with the patient just dramatically increases. So it's not that a lot of I mean, you can obviously, I recommend people go and do marketing. Marketing is not my area of expertise, particularly American marketing. So, I recommend they go and see someone who knows how to do marketing. So if you know anyone, like, let me know. So that, like, they need to do marketing. And also, like, most people don't spend enough on marketing. They go, what is your secret with your marketing? Like, my secret was I spent 5% of revenue in my dental practice for 20 years.
Right.
So we were like on television, and it's like this beautiful cycle, because when you market a procedure, you do more of it, and then you get more confident because you do so many repetitions, and you get past the sad stage where everything's difficult very quickly. And
Right.
then because you're so confident, you sell better. And because you sell better, you do more repetitions and you get more confident, and so on and so forth. So that is one of the things that I struggle with, is that people learn things and they don't want to spend any money on marketing, or they think that, everyone wants word of mouth because it tells you that you're so amazing. People just come to you because you're,
Yeah.
king glorious of dentistry. So I don't get involved in marketing. That's someone else's problem. But the biggest difference is that when you're truly confident, your treatment plans get bigger and your acceptance rate gets bigger, just because you can look someone in the eye and go, hey, would you like your teeth fixed? I mean, we also do teach. The first thing we teach most people now, and we still do a little bit of this in person, is teach people to sell. So we teach people rapid, efficient treatment planning, which is our flagship, how to consult, how to ask a patient questions
Mm-hmm.
so that they want to do something, rather than, like, there's 3 levels with consultation. Like, what I'd call beginner is you give the patient options. That's beginner.
Sure.
Giving people options is a terrible way to do consultation, because they often choose the wrong thing and they get confused. Sort of amateur level then is to try and educate we hear people talk about educating the patient. So education is not that effective at getting people to do the right thing. So it's like big amateur level, better than beginner with options,
Right.
but not much better. And then the highest level is where the patient or the customer feels understood.
Sure.
And when people feel understood, they trust you and they're much more likely to do things with you. So we help teach that with a lot of dentists first. And it's the only thing that we do in person. So, like, procedures are easy to teach with a platform, all types, knowledge, hand skills. But teaching people to read body language and to communicate and to workshop that, pretty tricky. Pretty tricky to do that online. So I'm in the process of training a whole bunch of people to run that for me globally, because, like, right now I have like 1,000 dentists
Yeah.
train on rapid efficient treatment planning, and doing that 50 to 100 at a time is pretty slow
Yeah.
and defeats the purpose of having a platform. So I have people in Europe, Australia, and the US that we're currently training to help teach that at scale. So yeah, that's the kind of the missing piece.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's exciting to hear about everything expanding and moving forward. And thanks for adding confidence to the industry. There's a lot of happy patients out there that are confident in their smiles and able to eat better.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to plug at the end here that you want to kind of share with our audience?
Hey, look, if they want to massively accelerate their career and they don't want to spend 4 times as much and do it half as fast, then we can help them. So if you want to go fast, you want to get things faster, better, and earlier in your career, then have a look at ripeglobal.com.
All right. And you're on socials, Ripe Global as well?
Yeah, on Instagram, Facebook, occasionally on X, but not very often. And also obviously, you can go to the website as well. So yeah,
Amazing.
look forward to helping people.
Well, thanks, Dr. Lincoln Harris of Ripe Global. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
No worries. Thanks so much for having me, Nick.